Hey guys, we're back with part 3 for paper 4H for math from June 2011. Alright, so we left off at question 19. Now question 19 is asking you to calculate the length of AB. Now we'll call this length AB, we'll call it X just for the sake of it. So, they've given you two angles, they've given you one angle and a side opposite to it, and they've given you one angle and you're supposed to find the side opposite to it, X. Alright, so before you do this, pay attention to this little note I've drawn here. Now over here there's just a regular triangle, any kind of triangle, and what it says is that, sorry, one second. Yeah, so this just illustrates the sine rule. And what the sine rule is the opposite angle and the opposite side, the ratio between them is equal to another opposite angle and opposite side in the triangle. Not just the angle, the sine of the angle, sorry, my bad. So the sine of the angle. So the ratio of the sine of the angle and its opposite side is equal to the ratio of the other sine of an angle and another side and its corresponding opposite side. So if you just don't understand what I mean, it's just basically A over sine A is equal to B over sine B, which is equal to C over sine C. Now we can use this to solve this question. In this case, we have the opposite angle of the angle 134, and that's 10.2. And we want to find the opposite side of the angle 28. So we can use this ratio over here. So we can say that 10.2 over sine 134 is equal to x, which is the side we want to find, over sine 28. And this is kind of similar to this kind of equation which I've written over there. So now all we have to do is solve for x, just normal algebra, multiply both sides by sine 28. You're going to get x is equal to 10.2 times sine 28 over sine 134. And the answer is x is equal to 6.659 blah blah blah, which is just 6.66 when you round it off to 3 significant figures. Alright, question 20, I've given you two functions, f of x and g of x. And for 20a, they're asking you which value of x cannot be included in the domain of f or g. Now first of all, look at both the functions, f of x and g of x. They're both fractions. Now, what numbers can be included? Negative numbers can be included and positive numbers can be included. If you think about it, the only number that can't be included is 0. Because for example, if you did 2 divided by 0, it's actually unknown. It's an unknown number. It's like something we haven't invented and it's not possible. Like for example, try it on your calculator. Do 2 divided by 0 and it'll come up as math error. So the only value of x that cannot be included is x equal to 0. Because then the functions wouldn't make sense. Okay, so question 20b is asking you to solve g of f of a. Alright? So first of all, to do that is equal to 3, my bad. Is equal to 3. So first of all, let's just develop an idea of what g of f of a is. To do this, we're going to split this up. So it's g of f of a. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to find the f of a here. Now f of a is just, to find f of a, all you have to do is instead of the x, you got to put an a inside. So instead of 2 over x, it becomes 2 over a. Okay? So that's your f of a. Now pretend like this f of a is the x over here. So all the x's over here in this g of x get replaced with f of a, which is 2 over a. So g of f of a will actually be 2 over a plus 1 over 2 over a. So this is your g of f of a, this whole thing. Now that was the way in which composite functions are actually made. So what the question says is solve it for g of f of a you have to solve it for equal to 3. Now all you do is just do basic algebra, multiply both sides by 2 over a, you're going to get 2 over a plus 1 is equal to 3 times 2 over a, and what's going to happen is it's going to become 2 over a plus 1 is equal to 6 over a. Subtract 2 over a on both sides, you're going to get 1 equals 6 over a minus 2 over a. So 1 equals 4 over a. Now multiply both sides by a, you're going to get a is equal to 4. and that is your answer. Okay, question 20C is asking you to express the inverse function g inverse of x. So what is g inverse of x? So to do this, an inverse is just the opposite of a function. So g of x can actually simply be written as how you guys normally know, y equals x plus 1 over x, where y is just g of x. Now, to find the inverse, what happens when an inverse occurs is that the x and the y, they actually swap over. So in this case, we're trying to find the inverse, so the x and the y are going to swap over. So x is going to be equal to y plus 1 over y. So the x's become the y's and the y's become the x's. Now, all you have to do is to find the inverse is to make y the subject of the formula, and that's it, you've got your inverse. So to do that, you just multiply both sides by y. You're going to get xy equals y plus 1. Subtract y on both sides. You're going to get xy minus y is equal to 1. Factorize y out. You're going to get y, x minus 1 is equal to 1. And divide both sides by x minus 1. You're going to get y equals 1 over x minus 1. So, g inverse of x is equal to 1 over x minus 1. Okay, so question 21A is telling you that Claire buys some shares for 50x. She sells the shares for 600 plus 5x, and she makes a profit of x percent. Now this profit of x percent, the percentage actually comes when you compare the profit to the amount she bought it for, which is this amount. Okay, I'm just saying that beforehand because it's useful as we do the question. So you have to show that x squared plus 90x minus 1200 is equal to 0. So you have to come up with a quadratic equation using this information. So, first of all, look at what you have. You have the profit she's made, you've had the amount she sold it for, and you've had the amount she bought it for. So think of something that relates profit, selling, and buying of something. So if I bought something then for 10, a pencil let's say, and I sold it for 20, I'd make a profit of 20 minus 10. So you see we've already developed a link between the selling and the buying and the profit. So what happens is the profit in this case will be the amount she sells it for, 600 plus 5x, minus 50x. Right? But in this case, she makes a profit of x percent, meaning we have to put this profit in terms of percentage. Now as I told you earlier, this profit in percentage is when you compare the profit actually made to the buying of the stock. That's how profit percentage usually works. It's compared to the amount you actually bought it for originally. So you divide this by 50x, because it's a ratio compared to the original amount, and you multiply this by 100 to convert it into percentage. And that'll just give you your x. Now, we just have to simplify this and solve for x. So I'm going to do this a bit quickly. So I'll multiply both sides by 50x, and what I'm going to get, and I'll solve this bracket over here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to get 600 minus 45x all times 100 is equal to 50x squared, because I multiplied both sides by 50x. Now I'll expand the bracket. I'm going to get 600, 2 zeros more, minus 4500x is equal to 50x squared. Now I'm going to add 4500x on both sides and subtract 60,000x on both sides. What I'm going to get is 0 is equal to 50x squared plus 4500x minus 60,000. Or this can just be simply written as the other way around. It can just be written like this. Yeah? And now just divide the whole thing by 50, and because you need to get in terms of x squared. So you got to divide the whole thing by 50. So what's going to happen is this is going to become x squared. 4,500 divided by 50 is actually 900. And 60,000 divided by 50 is actually 1,200. So there is your quadratic equation. Okay, question 21b is asking you to solve the equation you found and figure out x basically. And you have to find the value correct to 3 significant figures. So the fact that they tell you it's to correct it to 3 significant figures should tell you that you can't just simply factorize it like we normally do, because you're going to get like a big number with lots of decimals. So another option we can do to solve for x is actually use the quadratic formula, which is at this formula booklet at the start of your test. So the quadratic formula will solve for x. So x is equal to, and the quadratic formula is minus b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Don't ask me how I remember it. I really don't know how I remember it. Okay, so what happens is your b is the coefficient of x, your a is the coefficient of x squared, which is 1 in this case, and your c is the last number here. Is just a number. Okay, so all you have to do is substitute these things in and you'll solve for x. So that means that x is equal to minus 90 plus minus square root of 90 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 1200 all over 2 times 1, Okay, so I'll just simplify that quickly. So x is equal to negative 90 plus minus square root. I hope you guys know how to do basic algebra. Just put this on your calculator and you're going to get x is equal to square root plus minus square root of 12,900 all over 2. Alright, so in this case you can have two possibilities. You can either have x is equal to minus 90 minus square root 12,900 over 2, but this will give us a value of x as negative, because minus and minus will give you a minus numerator and you're dividing by a positive numerator, so you're going to get a negative answer. And it's impossible to have a negative percentage in this case because we're getting a profit and the profit is actually positive. So that means we can omit this answer and say no negative answer for x, and we'll solve the other thing that could happen, which could be x equals minus 90 plus square root 12,900 over 2, and that means x will be equal to 11.7890, but just give it to 3 significant figures, so it becomes 11.8. So your answer is 11.8. Okay, so 22 is giving you a cuboid and they're asking you to find the length AG, which is this length here. So it's a 3D. It's going from one vertex to another vertex. Okay, now it's good when we work with rectangles because we can just split them into good right angle triangles. So we have to develop a game plan to solve this. Now first of all, the game plan, I've just devised it for you because I'm a nice guy. There's one right angle triangle there with the right angle actually here. And then I've also noticed that there's another triangle here. Okay? Now these two triangles actually share this line here, AC. So what we can do is with this red right angle triangle, we notice that we have two sides, 5 and 7. And with this greenish blackish right angle triangle, we notice that we have one side, 3, but we need to find this side, we'll call it X. And then there's AC also, which we can find out from the red triangle. So what I'm going to do is, what I propose in my game plan is to find Y first, over here. Then we'll have both Y and 3, and then we can find out X. Now you might be asking, how am I going to find that out? And there's a simple thing called the Pythagoras theorem. I'm sure you guys all know about it. H squared equals A squared plus B squared, where H is your hypotenuse. So you apply it to this, and it's only applicable to right angle triangles. But in this case, they're all right angle triangles. So let's do it. So for the red triangle, we're going to use the Pythagoras theorem, and we're going to get Y squared is equal to 5 squared plus 7 squared. Y squared is equal to 74. So Y is equal to square root of 74. I'm just going to leave Y as square root 74 just for accuracy's sake. So we'll say Y is equal to root 74. Okay? Sorry, that's the worst root sign in the world. So now we have Y, we have another side, and we have a right angle triangle. And in this right angle triangle, X is our hypotenuse, AG is our hypotenuse. So AG is what we want to find out. So X squared, we can construct another equation. X squared is equal to root 74 squared plus 3 squared. So X squared is equal to 83, meaning X is equal to root 83. And so X is equal to 9.11, and this is correct to 3 significant figures. Question 22b is asking you to find the angle between AG and the plane ABCD. So what they mean is they want the angle over here because it touches the plane ABCD, which is the bottom flat surface on the ground, the cuboid, that part, and it's going from A to G. So they want this angle here. Now this angle is part of this red right angle triangle which I've drawn here. And basically we have an angle, we have all the sides possible, so we can use our SOHCAHTOA rules. And in this case we can use any rule we really want. I like the sine rule the most, so we can just use sine of the angle, which is, we'll call the angle A. Sine A is equal to opposite side, which is 3, over hypotenuse, which is root 83. And I'm just keeping it as root 83 for, again, accuracy's sake. So if you want to solve for A, you have to do A equals sine inverse. Remember, it's not dividing by sine. You can't divide by sine because it's a function. So you have to take the inverse function. So A is equal to sine inverse of 3 over root 83. And don't worry, don't panic with this sine inverse. It's on your calculator. So A is going to be equal to 19.225, which is just to one decimal place as the question asks, 19.2 degrees. Alright, so question 23. Before I start this question, I just want to quickly give a small heads up. So if you have, for example, 2 root 2 plus 3 root 2, this can just be simplified to 5 root 2. I just want to make that clear because these two are the same, meaning you can just directly add these two together. And that's just something we're going to encounter in this question which we're going to do now. So, question 23 is asking you to put root 48 plus root 108 in the form k root 6, where k is a surd. So first of all, they want us in root 6. Okay. Now, I hope you guys know that when you have, for example, root 10, this can be simplified to root 5 times 2, which can be simplified to root 5 times root 2. So that's another useful tip for this question. So I'm just going to solve this question for you and make it simple. So they want it in root 6. So let's get everything in terms of 6. Okay, so root 48 can be actually written as root 8 times root 6. And root 108 can actually be written as root 18 times root 6. Now, we've got our root 6's here, so let's just leave them for the time being and try to simplify these two. So root 8 can be written as root 4 times root 2, and this is being multiplied by root 6, plus root 9 times root 2, and this is being multiplied by root 6. Again, now root 4 and root 9 are equal to 2 and 3 respectively. So root 4 becomes 2, so it becomes 2 root 2 times root 6, plus 3 root 2 times root 6. Correct? Now notice how they have the same root 2 root 6 combo. So all we have, and we're just adding. So what I told you in the beginning, you can just simply add it. So it just becomes 5 root 2 times root 6. And notice now that root 6 is this part of the question, and your k is just 5 root 2. Alright, so a vector, first of all, before we start this question, is any quantity with both magnitude and direction. So in this case, a vector, direction is really important. So this vector is not equal to this vector, even though they both might have the same length. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. Okay, so for 24a1, they're asking you to calculate the vector PS. Okay, now notice, when you're doing vectors, you basically want to get from here, P, to S. Okay, so what they say in the question is actually PS is equal to 4QR, which is this vector here. And they also say that PS is parallel to QR. Meaning, if they're parallel, they must have the same direction. So this direction and this direction are like the same. Okay, so the direction is fine. But we need to know the amount at which this is larger than QR, and they actually say it here. PS is equal to 4QR. So since QR has the vector B, PS should have the vector 4B. Now, question 24a2 is asking you to calculate the vector PR. Now I really like vectors because basically you want to get from here to, here. But there's no direct route and there's no obvious route. So you just gotta, if you just figure out a way to get from this point to this point using any vector. The sum of those vectors will always be equal to this vector here. So you just got to find a way to get from P to R, and that's it. That's your resultant vector, PR. And if you just look, you can get to R from P by just going simply like this and like this. And you're going in the direction of both vectors, so it's A plus B. Now, question 24A3 is asking you to get the vector RS. So you have to get from R over here to S over here. So one way we can do that is by going opposite. We can go here, and then we can go along here. And we know all of these vectors. 4B is here, and we have B and A. So RS is simply negative B, negative A, plus 4B. Now the reason it's negative B is because you're going in the opposite direction of B, in this case. Because B is going in this direction, but you're going in this direction. And A again is going in this direction, but you're going in this direction. But you're going along the direction of 4B, so it's plus 4B. So if you go in the opposite direction, it's actually a negative vector. And you can just simplify this to 3B minus A. Okay, so 24B, first of all, they say the point T lies on the line PR such that PT is to TR is 4:1. That means that T would lie somewhere here. So that means that to get from P to T, it would actually be 4/5 of PR. Okay, so just need to make that clear before we start. So the point T will be somewhere here. Next, it says that given that TS, the vector, is equal to K times QT, the vector, find the value of K. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find TS, and I'm also going to find QT, and figure out what the constant is. So I'm going to find out both vectors. So I'll work with TS on this side, and I'll work with QT on this side. So for vector TS, what I can do is one way to get from T over here to S over here, we can go all the way to R, and then we can go RS. Simple. So first of all, we have to figure out what TR is. And TR, according to the question, is actually 1/5 of this whole vector here, PR. So meaning TR is just 1/5 PR. And PR, according to the previous question, is A plus B. So we've gotten from here to here. Now we need to get from R to S. And RS, according to the previous question, is just 3B minus A. So I just add 3B minus A. Now, to get from Q to T, we need to go in the opposite direction. We need to get to P first, and then we can go PT. Now, getting from Q to P is just negative A. Simple. And PT, as they say in the question, is just, from the ratio, is just 4/5 of PR. So, minus A plus 4/5 of PR, which is just A plus B. Now, to figure out the constant, basically that K which we discussed in the question, we need to get these two TS and QT vectors into the similar formats. So first of all, let's just write it all out and try to simplify and figure out some way of simplifying this whole thing. So I'm going to work with TS first. And what you're going to get is A plus B over 5 plus 3B minus A. Now if you multiply all of this by 5, you're going to get A plus B plus 15B minus 5A all over 5. Now this all simplifies to negative 4A plus 16B over 5. Now we can factorize out 4/5 and leave it as minus A plus 4B. Now we're going to work with QT over here. So what happens is it's minus A plus 4A plus 4B over 5. We multiply this negative A by 5, and what we're going to get is negative 5A plus 4A plus 4B over 5. Now this simplifies to negative A plus 4B over 5. Now, to compare QT to TS, we need to get this the same. We need to keep that minus A plus 4B. So to do that, we're just going to factorize out a 1 over 5. And we're going to get minus a plus 4b. Now notice that these two are the same. And if TS is equal to k times QT, right? If we were going to do TS divided by QT, we would get the k, because if we just divide both sides by QT, right, we're going to get TS over QT is equal to k. So simply, we're just going to divide both vectors. So dividing TS by QT, you're going to get, and this is equal to k, you're going to get k is equal to 4 over 5 a minus a plus 4b over 1 over 5 minus a plus 4b. Now notice these two will cancel each other out, and you're going to get k is equal to 4 over 5 over 1 over 5. And that means k is simply just 4. Because 4 over 5 divided by 1 over 5 is 4. Okay guys, so we're finally done with this paper. And please rate, comment, and subscribe. And I think that's the last one of the math papers so far which are available. If the 2012 series comes out, I'll be sure to do it. Anyway, till then, see you guys. Hopefully I'll start a new subject soon. So thanks guys, and I guess enjoy. Yeah, bye guys.